All right. We are here on the Touching You talk show. I am your host tonight, Rochelle Kent. Am standing in for our wonderful creator of the show, Sister Elder Black, Sheila Black, who is letting us use her platform. Tonight, I am so grateful because I have an amazing woman with us tonight. She is a mom. She is an educator. She is a two-time author, I believe, of two books.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
and uh, and a ministry. She also has a ministry. She's also a minister. She also gets to be my friend and co-host of Ask an Autism on podcast. And I am now introducing you to Dr. Yolanda McKinney.
Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy that you're here. Now, look, guys, we're not going to be here too long because Dr. McKinney is on the East Coast. She is not Texas time. So it is time for some of us to go lay it down. But we're going to push through because we have some really great information that we want to share with everybody tonight. Okay. So as we begin, can you give us a little background on your son, who is an adult, but he is also an adult with autism? Can you give us a little background about him and just kind of tell us, his passions, his strengths, the things that make him special?
Sure. Cameron was diagnosed at about age 4. He is now 29, so we've been on this journey for about 25 years. I like to call him my walking encyclopedia. Cameron is a store of information. He has a memory that is something I've never even experienced before. Um, he loves movies. He loves to bowl. He loves to go to arcades. He loves to read. His spelling is absolutely phenomenal, and his memory is impeccable. If you tell him, he's going to commit it to memory, and that's going to be the end of that. If you write it down and you show him how to do it, maybe after 2 or 3 times, it's in there and he's not going to forget it. So he is very unique in that aspect. And other than that, he's just a normal 29-year-old young man.
Wow, 29 years old. And
Yes.
I love that, like, he likes to spell and read. He reminds me kind of like my 12-year-old Ethan. He's a reader. He loves reading and all of the things as well. So with him being 29 years old, about what age was he when you got the initial diagnosis?
He was about 4. I kind of suspected it when he was around 2, 3. But we got his actual diagnosis from a psychologist when he was 4.
About 4. Okay, so when you think back, because now that's some years now,
Hmm.
so I know we can kind of look back with a little bit more wisdom now, but when you first got that initial diagnosis, like, what were some of your hopes and some of the fears that you felt for maybe a parent that might be watching that is going through, I just got the diagnosis today?
So I think the first thing I thought was, what is this, right? How am I going to manage this? And the doctors overload you with so much information, but it's all negative information. They don't tell you anything positive. They tell you all the things that your child won't be able to do, all the milestones they'll never reach, all the things. And so I was very nervous about just what I consider to be basic things like, will he learn to read? Will he be able to speak? Because at 4 years old, he was still talking very little. He was not really communicating like you and I are communicating now.
Mhm.
So I had all these fears about, will he ever be able to communicate? I had heard stories about kids never using their voice. And so all those concerns about, will I hear him? How will he go through school? Will school be successful? All the things. Yeah, all the things.
Yeah. So there were a lot of worries. Did you have any, like you said, you heard about all the things online. Very rarely are there positive things online. Were there
Very
any,
rarely.
was there anything positive during those early years that you did see that you interacted with that kind of helped you?
I think the thing that kept me going was that, again, um, Cameron was always a lovable kid, and even when he couldn't necessarily verbalize, we used to use the PEC system, which was cards to communicate, and so he always communicated. And one of the things that I really loved was that we had the. Do you remember the magnets that were like letters and numbers?
Yes.
We had maybe two or three sets of them on the refrigerator, and before he would speak, that's how he would communicate with me and his father. He would, because he was always an excellent speller. Like, as soon as he could learn to read, as soon as he could learn to spell, that's how we would communicate. And then eventually the words came. I mean, we had years and years and years of speech therapy to
Okay.
finally get him to where he is now. But we would communicate with the magnets on the refrigerator. So that gave me hope that even if he never fully used his voice, he and I would always be able to communicate once he learned to write. So there were just those little things, gave me hope that at least I would be able to communicate and he would be able to communicate with me and his dad.
I love that. I love that it was something as simple as just magnet letters, or
Yes,
I know for us it was uh the alphabet blocks, the wooden blocks,
yes,
something,
yes,
just a simple toy gives you that hope that there is communication and they are aware of what's around them. So it's isn't it amazing how God can use like the smallest things to give the biggest hope?
yes,
I love that. I love that. So we talked about his early years, the initial diagnosis um, for your son Cam. So as he grew into adulthood, you
yes,
know, most parents we always juggle. I have a twin-year old who's not autistic, but I have a twin-year old, and we have to juggle how you change that parental thing from being a minor to being an adult.
yes.
So for you and Cam and your husband, how did y'all, transition together from the supports he needed as a child with autism to maybe some supports that he needs as an adult with autism?
So there was a huge learning curve, right? I felt like we finally figured it out as a family how to do the supports, as a child and then as an adolescent. And then when they hit adulthood, everything changes, right? So you got to find new doctors, you got to find new providers, you got all of that on the medical side. But
Mhm.
then as a family, as the older he got, the more independent he wanted to be. However, there are still areas where Cameron is very independent, and there are some
Mhm.
areas where he still needs support. So, just like the autism spectrum in kids' abilities, it's the same when it comes to support. So, there are some
Mhm.
areas where Cameron is just independent, and then there's some areas that are kind of in the middle. We can kind of gradually release responsibility, and then there's some areas where mommy and dad still have to be there to help and support. And so that's a struggle because he wants to be independent. If it was up to him, he he would be doing everything he needed to do, but he doesn't always realize, what he doesn't know or what he still needs help with. And so we're still learning that. Even at
Right.
29, he's still teaching us every day something that we need to know
Yeah.
or learn or do. So it's evolving.
It's evolving. I like that. So in that evolution of, as a parent, what you're able to see with wisdom further than he can. Autism or not, right?
Right. Right.
So my question is, communication wise, how do you communicate to him, this is where we need to be right now without, I don't know, taking away, impeding on his manhood or his adulthood. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
So he and I just have conversations, right? So he's not always able to express to me his frustration in words, but I will
Mhm.
see it in his behaviors, right? So we communicate. And so allow him to try and do the things that he thinks he can do on his own, just like any other parent would. I'm not going to let him hurt himself. I'm not going to let him harm himself. However, I am going to let him try. And if he gets into a hiccup or he gets to a part where he can't, and then I say, Cameron, this is what mom was talking about, that sometimes you need. And so it's very, because he doesn't want the help, but he needs it. And
Right.
so I can see him getting frustrated. His dad can see him getting frustrated, and we just kind of intervene. And sometimes he doesn't want it, and we just like, okay.
Okay.
So that's hard because no parent wants to see their kid struggle with anything. But we
Mhm.
all know that sometimes that good struggle will help them to see. And then sometimes he'll just come back and just ask, "So, mom, when you said such and such, were you talking about this or that or the thing?" So I do see a question in the chat that I
Yeah.
want to answer. So there was only one word and one picture on each of the pet cards. I'm responding to tyrannical. Um, and then in my support system, I am blessed to have a large support system. I have my mom, and it's almost like my whole family was educated. My mom worked with children with autism as I was growing up. So, God always orchestrates everything. So I had always been around children with autism, and my mom always brought the kids that she worked with to events at our church. And so my support system, my family is very well informed, they're very well educated. Um, and so I have a very large support system, and I'm grateful for that.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing because I don't know how online you are, but right now there's a lot of discussion going on and a lot of parents on TikTok and Instagram speaking about the struggles that they have, and mainly being that they don't have support, that they don't feel like there's somebody there for them. So it's beautiful that you have that group, and that you have that group that's willing to learn as
Yes,
well. You know what I'm saying? Because some of the reasons why we don't have the group is we might be surrounded by people that don't
right,
want to learn it.
right,
And so you're
right.
like, well, I can't leave my baby with you because
Absolutely.
you don't have that knowledge
Hmm.
base about autism and things. So that is a wonderful blessing. And hello to everyone in Dr. McKinney's support cycle and circle and everything. Hello to everyone. Thank you for being there for her, her husband, and Cameron on behalf of her new bestie, Rochelle. Okay, so as we transition, I would like to talk about. I know that you wrote a book
I
on
did.
biblical friendships. Okay. And we will definitely get into that. But can you kind of touched on it a little bit about your support circle, but can you touch on how important it is to have friendships as you go through this journey of having a child with autism or a disability of any kind, actually?
Yeah, so I think you and I have talked about this quite a bit, how important it is to be able to step away and to have people who can really be there to listen, because sometimes I just need to regurgitate, I just need to let it out. And it is very important to have someone who can just listen. I don't necessarily need you to respond. I don't necessarily need you to try to fix anything. I don't necessarily need you to do anything. I just need you to listen and let me just spit it all out, um, so that I can kind of unload it. And it helps to have, and I think we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get into the book, but it helps to have different types of friends and different friend groups, right? Because the friend groups that don't have kids with autism, they're not going to understand what you're talking about, right? So, but when I'm talking to you or I'm talking to other people who also have children with autism, it is very easy. I don't really even have to finish the sentences because you already know what I'm going to say and what I'm dealing with
Mhm.
and what I'm managing. And then you have another group of friends who don't necessarily have that perspective, but they're just good people, right? So they're just good
Yeah.
support system, and they're just good people to have around and be around you and support you when you need it. So I think it's incredibly important. I don't know how you would get through if you didn't have other people to talk to about what you're dealing with every day.
I love that. I love and I do absolutely agree because I know I haven't read your book yet. However, I absolutely agree that you have to have different friends for different situations. Absolutely. I have some friends that are just my, hey Rochelle, we're going to go watch a musical together and forget about our worries. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yes,
love that. And all I have to talk about is musicals and
yes,
Wicked and and stuff like that. And then I have some friends that I can get real churchy with.
yes, ma'am.
We can lay out on the floor, speak in tongues, bring out the oil, all the things. And I love being having those different friends, and I think that's something that in this world where, especially like with Facebook and social media, everybody is a friend.
Yes.
We don't know how to place people where they're supposed to be in our lives. And then we get upset that
When they're
people aren't
not
showing
fulfilling
up.
that, right? Right.
Right. But they don't have the skill set for that. That's
They
not
don't
what they
have the
were there for.
capacity. Right.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
Now, before I move on more deeper into your book and everything, this is a question that I ask all of my guests who are married, because we do know a lot of times people who have special needs children, uh, the marriages, they don't, you know, they're
Mm-hmm.
not there,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes a lot. So,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of encouragement or advice can you give to maybe a couple who is navigating this world of disability, autism? How do they stay connected and keep, that love between each other?
So I think the first thing you have to do is realize the strengths of each of you. There are some areas of managing my son and the autism world and everything that my husband is great at, and then there are other areas that I focus on. Right, so I'm the girl that's out there, the advocacy. I'm looking up the doctors. I'm doing all the things, and then my husband is just managing the behaviors. Okay, this is what we learned. So this right, and when he was younger, my husband was like, "Well, I'll do the speech therapy and you do the OT and PT." So I think you have to find a way to balance all the things, because at one point Cameron was in OT, PT, speech. It was like this ongoing cycle for
Cycle.
maybe, I'm going to just say 5 years. Um 4 days a week for 5 years. That's a lot of time invested, and so, to your point, we had to carve out time. So it was when
Mm.
Cameron went to sleep, if he went to sleep, right? So that's a whole nother piece of that you're very much
say
aware of,
say
right?
that part
There,
again.
there are
If
times when he does not sleep, right? And
yes,
so you're awake because he's awake, and so you have to find the time. Now as he's gotten older and we've learned to recognize his stemming and manage what's going on with him, we've learned to set aside time. And I think the most important thing is to, like you said earlier, we talked about earlier, educate people, use the respite care that's provided, don't feel guilty, and find time for yourselves. There are times when Russ and I will go away without Cameron, and we have someone. I had 99.9% of the time, it's my mom. She is there. She really gives us that relief that we need. She comes, she takes care, does what she needs to do as a mom. She loves her grandson,
yeah.
um, and you have to do that. And when it gets hard, you have to talk each other through the hard times. Yeah, you have to
Ooh,
talk. You have to talk each other through it. You have to continue to encourage each other, and most importantly, you have to pray with and for each other. Like, you have to keep God at the center, and you got to pray, and you got to trust, and you got to have faith. But you got to not feel guilty about stepping away as a couple and taking that time. You know,
right.
as Cameron's gotten older, sometimes we just go to brunch. And I used to be like, "Oh, I can't believe we're going to brunch and leaving Cameron at home." Right. And now I'm just like, "You want to go to brunch? Let's go." Right.
Right,
Now,
right.
99% of the time we'll ask him and he's like, "I don't want to go with y'all." Like, every now and then he'll join us. So I think just and again, that's happened with age. That was not the case when he was younger.
Yeah.
But you just have to be intentional about finding that time to be together and then be honest with each other when you do have those conversations. Like, this is really hard. Yeah, we had a hard day today. Like when Cameron was
Right.
in school, it would be like tag you're it. Because we knew we were going to get a call every day,
Oh
Rochelle.
yeah.
Something was gonna pop up every day, right? I don't know how many times I said, I'm quitting this job and I'm just gonna homeschool because
Right.
this is too much, right?
Right.
So we had to tag team that. Okay, this is your week. Okay, this is my week. My husband adjusted his work schedule, so somebody was always home. Like there's this realization of what life really is and not what you want it to be. So once you come to the realization of what life is, this is
Hmm.
what my life is, being a parent of a child with autism. Now I got to reset, grieve over what I thought it was going to be, and now figure out how this life is going to be that we actually have.
Oh,
That's the best advice I can give.
oh wow. We're gonna have to have a whole nother episode because we're gonna have to talk about that grieving process that comes with, some of the things, grieving the life that you thought. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But I love how you describe your husband and you just communicating. That's really the biggest part, is just keeping that flow of communication and being honest. It's hard to work on things if we're all saying, oh no, it's fine. Oh no, it's fine. Sometimes it's not fine.
Yeah, we were actually in a support group that used to meet while my son had speech therapy. So when we lived in Texas, Cameron used to go to our children's center at Irving, right on Beltline, for speech therapy, and they offered a parent support group during the time of speech therapy, and that helped us tremendously as well. So we were there, and they talked us through and gave us pointers and tips while he was getting speech therapy, and so that was at least twice a week. So that helped as well. Um, and we
I,
just kind of carried that, all the things we learned, we just kind of carried it through.
I love that. I love that. That's that's a lot to chew on, and I love it. I think that even if you aren't a parent of a child with a disability, you can absolutely use that
Yes.
intentionality that the two of y'all had to seek out the help and know that
Hmm.
you don't know it all. So
Not at
let's
all.
get the help.
Not even a little bit. We didn't know anything. We were still young and married, right? And we were
Right.
still trying to learn each other. And then, yeah, it was a
This on
lot.
top of it. I get it. I get it. So as we move along, tell me what inspired you to write a book about not just friendship, but friendship from a biblical standpoint.
So it actually started as me writing a sermon called The Power of Three. And I always like to do research about whatever topic God is giving me. And so as I began to research the meaning of three, look at, things that happened in threes in the Bible, I kept seeing these patterns around friendship and around prayer and around how intentional God was about who he had around him and how many people. And I just was like, this just keeps coming up, coming up, coming up. And so at the same time, there was a lot of, and I don't know if it's just, I feel like my phone can hear me. So I don't know if it was just my news feed, but I was getting all this stuff on my social media feeds about friendship, just adult friendships, parents trying to help their kids navigate friendships, just all this stuff. And I was like, I need, to make this connect. And I said, but in everything that's happening in life, like I need this to be something secure, right? Just not these random people that you pick and say,
Right.
oh, she looks nice. Oh, wow, like none of that. Like really intentional about friendship. And so I prayed about it. And I was like, okay, God, so what I see what you're telling me. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to write the sermon, but I feel like there's more to this. Like, what is it you want to write? And I literally sat down on a Friday afternoon, and by Sunday night, it was done. Like it was, and I mean, it's a quick read.
Wow.
It was, and that it just flowed really, really easily. And so that's kind of where um, the inspiration inspiration came from. I think it's going to help a lot of people. I won't give everything away because I want you guys to get the book.
Right,
When
right. I don't want, you
I
know.
want, well, I don't want to give you everything because I want you to get the book. I see some more questions in the chat. How's the experience of teaching your son about religion? So I just take him to church. I don't, I just take him to church and then answer whatever questions he has afterwards. So he would ask me questions like, I think the thing that confused him most was the whole Holy Trinity. He didn't understand how the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost could be one person. I did the best I could. I'm sure I didn't get it right. I did the best I could and asked God to help me. And, were there some communication breakdowns? Absolutely. Because I didn't necessarily say things. And my son is very literal, so you have to give him the facts. He's very inquisitive and
Yes.
he wants to know. And so, yes, there were some communication breakdowns. And actually, when I lived in Texas, my therapy resources came through my pediatrician. Everything came through my pediatrician. Same thing happened here when I came to Delaware. I've always been blessed to have good doctors, and so even when Cameron transitioned from a pediatrician to a regular PCP, um, I was given a plethora of resources. Now, it wasn't always easy to get in with the resources they suggested, and like that took some intentionality and some hard work. But that's how I found those resources. Now I imagine you could Google them and go online. I just don't really trust that. Like in my gut, I much rather have a person.
Yeah,
However, I think whatever you feel comfortable with, if you're okay with looking at reviews, pray, of course, that God lead you. But that's kind of where I went and how I found the resources that I use.
I love that because I've experienced that myself. Every place that says that they have the capacity to work with children with autism, do not. It's just something they throw up there, just like pretty much everything is organic. They just
Right,
throw up, you
right,
know, autism friendly, and you're like, what did you do besides lower the lights?
right. Well, and whenever I find a good doctor, dentist, barber, whatever the case may be, I share it. Um,
Yep.
in my autism circle and friend groups, we are very close knit with Autism Delaware, and I share the when I find somebody who's really good with Cameron, I just share so that other parents will know.
And FYI to any parents that are watching, Autism Delaware has a lot of free resources that you can get online to help you. Maybe you live in a state that's not as supportive of
Yes.
autism and disability as Delaware is. You can absolutely go to their site. They have trainings that are via Zoom. I have attended some, so I'm just letting you know the information's out there, and they're doing their best to remove the barriers because they're getting the access out there to make it equitable and accessible to everybody that needs it. So, Autism Delaware, check that out. It
Yes.
definitely has lots of information. Because of you, I've checked them out. So
Thank
this
you.
so because of you, I was like, oh, I don't have to be in Delaware. I can be down here in Texas. Okay. So going back a little bit to your book, I know you don't want to give a whole lot away, so I'm not gonna ask you too much.
Okay.
Okay, not too much. But when you were writing your book, and I know we're talking about autism in friendship, uh, can you kind of one of the fears that parents have is that their child just won't make friends because there's this especially when they're a lot younger, you know they like to be by themselves in the little corner. You can take them to all the playgrounds all you want to.
Hmm.
They're in their bubble.
Yes.
So what kind of encouragement or words can you give to parents that are wondering, will my child ever be able to make friends and connect due to their autism?
So I think the first thing we have to realize is that friendship looks different for everybody.
Mm.
And Cameron has friends, but he doesn't hang out with them like I hang out with my friends. right? Um, Cameron has places he goes, and it's for me as an observer, I'm just watching like they're not even connecting, but they are connecting. Just it just doesn't look like what I think it, it should look like. So I want you to not frame your child's friendships the way you see friendships, right? And I don't
Mm,
want you to take that in as some kind of heartbreak. And I also don't want you to force your child to fit in. Like find social groups that include people with and without autism, right? Because we
good.
know that a lot of kids with autism mimic what they see around them. And so you want to make sure they have, excuse me, a plethora of people that they can learn from and be around. When you go on these, like, and I know Autism Delaware has groups for certain ages. So, like,
Yeah.
Cameron goes bowling, he goes to different outings. They have parties, they have all kinds of things for adults, and they have social groups, and they have all kinds of different things. So it doesn't necessarily look like, right? But Cameron's not going to have anybody over here to to hang out. That's just not what he does. He's not going to ask me to go to anybody's house to hang out. But if they're going bowling, he's in a lane, they're in a lane, probably not saying one word, right? But
Right.
so it's just different, right? And you don't and I went through a time where I thought, oh my goodness, my kid's not going to have any friends, but he does. And what I want everybody to understand, is that as long as your child is a happy child, that's what it is for me at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
Cameron says to me, "Mom, I'm happy," that that's all I care about because that's all I want for him, right? So I have to
Yeah.
try and not force my thoughts around what friendship should look like based on what it looks like for me
Right.
and what it should look like for him.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I like sometimes we as parents of children who have disabilities or autism, we forget that they're a child with autism. They're a child first, right? And sometimes we can get so hung up on focusing on the autism that we're missing their childhood.
Right.
And even in adulthood, we're missing the milestones, like you said, the ability to go, hey, let's go to brunch. The ability to, that you do have, they're still growing and they're still learning skills. So
Absolutely.
we have to trust, I don't know about you, but we have to trust the amount of money and time that we put into all these therapies for them to learn these
Yes.
skills, to let them to develop them and use the skills.
I think that's one of the things too, Rochelle, that we're going to have to talk about on the podcast. The whole therapy. I think we could probably do a whole session
Ab-
on that for
Absolutely.
sure. For
And
sure.
speaking of, you've probably heard us say it a couple of times, but we do have a podcast that will be coming out every third Tuesday of the month, right here on the Touching You talk show. Elder Sheila Black has graciously allowed us to use her platform to make a welcoming space for people to come in. And the name of our podcast is Ask an Autism Mom. Those who know me, I go hard for them autism babies. That's what I do. And some of you may have seen uh, my two boys who have autism. They've kind of gone semi-viral from for their haircut that they did with Mr. Henry, the creator of the weighted
Yes.
cape.
Yeah.
And so I'm an autism mom, and I'm so grateful to my wonderful pastor at Dayspring who was like, I know a wonderful lady that you should connect to. And she told me that, and I forgot all about it. And then about a week later, she texted me and Dr. Yolanda on on a text thread and said, "Hey, meet up." And we have been connected ever since. I think it's been
Yes.
almost a year now.
I I don't know, has it been that long already?
I think it has. I think it's been almost
Oh,
a year now. Can you believe it?
no, I feel like
Um,
we've known each other for a long time.
for a very long time. So,
Yeah.
and Dr. Yolanda McKinney, she is not just an autism mom. She is an educator. So the great thing about asking an autism mom, you'll have someone like me who's kind of out here in the grassroots trenches of it all. Okay. Um, and dealing with navigating this world with younger children with autism. And you'll have Dr. McKinney, who not only has navigated the system before, is also navigating adult services, but
Yes.
also as an educator, she's navigating special education
Yes.
um from the admin position. And that's a whole nother thing. So you're going to get a wide range, a spectrum, if you will,
Yes.
of, of information and insight. And so if you do have questions, because we definitely want to take your questions. If you do have questions, that you would like us to address during that podcast, which will be the third Tuesday of every month, you can send it to Ask an Autism Mom Pod, POD, at gmail.com. Once again, that's Ask an Autism Mom Pod at POD at gmail.com. So we definitely want to be able to answer your questions. If we don't know, we will try to
Do our
get
best.
we yes, and hopefully we'll also be able to bring in other guests that will be able to answer some of your questions, because we're not here thinking that we are to be all end all. Okay. And so with the wonderful resources that we have between each other, we definitely just want to be a space for you all to ask questions, get answers, and get pointed in the right direction, because right now, more than ever, with everything that's going on in the world, we need community.
Yes.
We definitely need community. And we need to use the internet in a positive way.
I
So
agree.
even with Dr. McKinney being in Delaware and me being here in Texas, um, we gonna make this thing work.
Yes.
And and
Yes.
we're going to be able to help uh parents and families across this nation,
I
not
believe it.
just in our little bubble.
Our little
So
bubbles. Yeah.
yes, our little bubble. So we're about to shake it up. So make sure that you tune in, because we want to hear from you and we want to help you and support
Yes.
you. So please be there and join in, become one of our friends.
We're excited.
Yes, we are so excited. So going a little bit further as we kind of slow and wrap up, because I don't want to keep you too long, because I know it's going on almost 9 o'clock where you are.
It is.
I want I want to ask you another question that I always ask everybody that I interview. What is a song or a scripture
Wow.
that helps you on your hard autism mom days? Because we know we have those days. I was just telling you before we got on, those days where we're like, you know what, Jesus, close your eyes real quick, just real quick,
Yeah,
because
and cover your ears.
I'm about to let
Yeah.
him have it. I'm
Yeah.
tired, and it's system after system and
Yeah.
situation after situation. Not so much our kids, but it's the things that we're dealing with
Yeah.
in this bubble. So what
Right.
is a song or a scripture that helps you through
Well,
that?
my scripture is a familiar one. I always go to I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I
Mhm.
just say it over and over and over and over again until I believe it. Because sometimes you just don't feel like it. You're like you said, Rochelle, you're just tired, you're just exhausted. And that's the reality, right? That's the other thing that I really love about this podcast. I think we're going to be able to just let people see the real life. Like, this is who we are. This is how we present. but this is how, it really is a challenge raising these kiddos. And so I just had to keep saying to myself, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all, and then I just remind myself, God's never going to put more on me than I can bear. Like
Yeah.
He's never going to put me on. And I just say those things to myself over and over again. And then there's a song that I just ran across, and I don't know if it's new or old. It's called Not Moved by Victor Thompson. And it's like, I'm not moved by what I see. He's seen it all. He's gone before me. And I just, and it's like a little like chant type song. And he just kind of
Yeah.
says that phrase over and over. And it has become one of my mantras. So now when I get to that, I'm just like, I'm not moved by what I just push play and, and let it play over and over, because sometimes that's all you can do, right? Because the hard days are really hard, the good days are really good.
Yeah.
And that's not just from being a mom of a child with autism, right? That's just being a mom, but it just gets
Yeah.
exacerbated, right?
Yeah.
When you have a kiddo that has autism. So
Yes. 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 Yes.
yep,
I like that. And what was the name of that song again? Because I definitely want to check it
it's
out.
called Not Moved,
Not
and
Moved.
the artist is Victor Thompson.
Victor Thompson. Okay, I'll definitely check that out because I'm trying to make myself a playlist because I'm to the point to where I can't have one song. Okay,
Yes.
because if I don't make my holy playlist, it'll go to Nuck If Your Butt. So I need, you know what I'm saying? So I need to have a whole
Yeah,
list of songs over there
send
for
you some of my favorites.
I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. Um, but as we get close to wrapping up, I also want to show people. You also wrote another book. You have
I
another book.
did.
This is the Bear the Box, the Blanket, a 30-day devotional for mothers who've lost a child due to premature infant death.
Yes.
And so again, Dr. Yolanda McKinney has just an amazing story, an amazing testimony.
Yeah.
And this book, uh, I have given to friends to read, and it helps. It really does help. During that, I know a couple of friends who have gone through that loss, and they've had to deal with and deal with it, and they've also been blessed with the rainbow babies later. But it is a tough thing.
It is very
It is
unique experience.
It is a very unique experience to lose a child, and uh, so I just want you to know that um, when you come and you listen to Ask a Autism Mom podcast, um, you can also send other questions because Dr. Yolanda McKinney is also a minister. She is also a minister. She is the minister overseer of the Gate Ministries. She usually goes live on Sundays as well. You can find them on Facebook as the Gate Ministries.
Yes.
And if you need a prayer, if you need an encouraging word, absolutely reach out because she's
I'll
there and
respond.
and she will
Yes.
respond and she prays. There are times when I can feel that I may not even talk to her that day, but I can feel that she's praying for me because the spirit of calmness comes upon. If I don't know if you notice, I'm kind of like over here and she's very
I
demure.
am.
You know,
Not always.
not
Well,
always, but
not
I'm
always. 99.9% of the time.
yeah, I'm kind
But
of like the
see,
one of
we balance each other out.
we balance each other out. So
Yes.
whenever I feel that calmness come upon me, I go, well, there goes Fran praying for me, and I'm gonna calm down. Let me
And
stop.
whenever I get hype, I'm like, oh, Rochelle's like, yeah.
Get him, friend. And so, so just know, the Ask a Mom podcast. We are here for you, on all of these mom women support. This is a whole movement that we're doing here. Um, one last thing.
Okay.
that I want to ask you is, like I said earlier, we have a lot of moms are posting videos of them crying in their cars, in the bathroom.
I've noticed that too.
It's hard.
It is.
It's it's hard. And anybody that goes to Dayspring knows that usually I have a smile on my face, but all it takes is for one of them to put me in a hug and whisper in my ear and I'm out. I am just tears and
Well,
bawling.
because I think you and I have talked about like nobody sees what it takes to get there, right? They see you
Yes.
at church with your kid or your children, but nobody knows, the meltdown that happened in the car on the way there, or just getting out the door to get there, or just like, and you and I have talked about this, so it'll be nice to be able to say this out loud. Like everybody sees, like, oh my gosh, Yolanda Cameron's so put together. You have no
No idea.
idea what it takes to get to here. And if you so the another thing, that for us to talk about, but yes, I have seen, and it's a bit disheartening. It makes me discouraged, um, for them, not for
Right.
me, because
Yeah.
I'm encouraged.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, so yeah, I have
So
seen those videos.
so for those moms that are in those videos, or those moms that, they're crying in the closet by themselves, in the bathroom by themselves, they're not even putting it
Mhm.
online. Uh would you mind just saying a prayer for those moms,
Sure.
or maybe that mom that they just got that diagnosis, that parent just got that diagnosis today, and they've been given the list.
Mm.
It's their never day, the never day where
Yep.
they tell you your child will never, and here's
That's
a list of
exactly.
everything.
That's a great title for it. The
Yeah.
never, because that's
And that
all it is.
it
All the
does
things a kid will never do.
never do. So,
Yeah.
do you mind right now, as we close out, just saying a prayer for those who are going through it and they just need that encouragement right now?
Yeah, sure. So, God, I thank you right now, first of all, for this opportunity just to be here and to share our experiences together. And thank you for this opportunity to just kind of pour into the lives of those women and those moms who are living with autism. So, God, first for the mom who got that diagnosis today, God, I ask that you would just bring peace to her. God, I would ask that you would just allow her to think about all the things that she wants her child to do and all the things that her child is going to be able to accomplish. God, I ask that you would allow her to flip the narrative, and for everything that they say is negative, God, I ask that you would give her something positive. But God, I also ask that you would give her someone who'll be able to listen and who'll be able to understand and she'll be able to pour into, and someone that she'll be able to pour out to. God, surround her with people who will understand, surround her with people who will give her the opportunity to pour out. God, encourage her, strengthen her, give her the courage and the ability to know that she is well able to handle what you've given her. And God, for every mom who's just feeling the weight of autism on today, God, I ask that you would lift those burdens as only you can. God, you have very broad shoulders, God, and all those things that we like to hold on to. God, I ask that you would allow us just to give them over to you right now. God, I ask that you would just bring them peace, God, that you would give them the peace that surpasses all understanding, God, and that you would give them a glimpse of hope. God, that their child would do something new, would do something different, would do something that they never expected, God, just so that they can see hope. God, and then I ask that you would allow them to just be surrounded by love and kindness, and that you would pour out your spirit on them, God, and allow their prayer language to change, God, in a way that's positive, in a way that's hopeful, God, and just hold them in your arms. God, you know, and there are things that you allow us to go through to mature us and to help us, and that you do the same for our children. So, God, we just thank you right now for all things new. We know that you do all things well. God, we know that you are the orchestrator of all things, and so we just thank you, um, right now. In your son Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. Again, we've added a link inside of the chat for Dr. Yolanda's book. We want to say thank you to Miss Sandra. Thank you for coming and watching the show tonight. We thank you so much. We thank you to my oldest son. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being in the chat and asking a whole bunch of questions. It's not like we don't live together. You've never asked me these questions, but okay. I'm glad that you saved them. That's what the podcast is for, right? To make
Absolutely.
it to make it more comfortable for people
Absolutely.
to ask questions. So, and
Well, and that's strange because that's your son and Sandra is my mom.
ah,
That's my mommy.
hello,
That's my mommy.
mom. I'm your new bonus daughter. Hi,
Yeah,
mom.
my biggest supporter.
I love
Yes,
it. I love it. And
yes,
thank you to Sister Cynthia, my day spring security buddy.
hmm
We be on security together. So
that's
thank you.
a Friday morning prayer warrior right there.
Listen, yes, yes, yes. And last but not least, I want to
Thank you,
thank
Elder
Elder
Black.
Sheila Black. She is she just has such a big heart and she's always willing to share her space with people. And like I told her earlier, one thing about the women at Dayspring, the people of Dayspring, they are going to push you into your gifts.
Yes,
And
yes,
while they are cheering you on, they're like, go on, go
yes,
on, go on.
yes,
And I think it's a trickle down from Pastor Dickerson, Pastor Sonia Dickerson, and and Bishop as
yes,
well, because the two of them, they're like,
yes.
you got the gift, go. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Shout out to Bishop and Pastor Sonia. We love you.
yes. Yes, we love you so much, your Dayspring family. We're in here doing the things for the kingdom. That's what we are doing. So,
Amen.
thank you again for being here. Thank you for your
You're welcome.
time.
You're welcome.
Again, you can find Dr. Yolanda McKinney. Look up the GATE Ministries on Facebook. She has a word. She's also posting wonderful, encouraging things throughout the week. So it always comes in a pinch when you need it. So definitely do that. Get her book. We can even make her a bestseller, y'all, because y'all need to learn about friends. Okay, friendship from a biblical perspective, not just what the TikTok is telling you as a friend. Get with it, friends. Okay, and just thank you, everybody. And if you have any questions for our Ask a Mom podcast, please send those questions to ask an autism mom, ask an autism mom pod, POD, at gmail.com. That's ask an autism mom pod, POD, at gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, and you have a wonderful night. We love you.
Good night, everybody.